And thus, the new season, Season 2 of Nanatsu no Taizai, is here. Now, before I begin, there's a couple of things I need to discuss. Number one, it's been a long day, and I've been in a stream all day long with, a certain other fellow YouTubers like King of Lightning, Yonko Productions, and also, Tekken, Roger. I've been doing a Reverie stream and all that, talking about One Piece all day, and so forgive me for the delays in videos. I wanted to chill with them and have a nice friendly chat about One Piece. So that's kind of what I've been doing all day. Besides that, I've been freezing quite a bit. It's been very cold. That's why I'm wearing this hoodie again and also wearing my beanie. But that is half true. I'm wearing the beanie, yes, because it's cold, but also my hair is really messed up and I just didn't feel like really fixing my hair. I know, I'm lazy. Say however you want. I am a little bit lazy right there, but that's one of the main reasons why. So, with all that pushed to the side, let's talk about something that many have been asking me since, early yesterday. Where is the Taizai review? Where is the first episode impressions of Season 2? Well, the reason why I didn't upload a review yesterday is not just for the fact there was a lot of things to talk about, but it was also because Taizai's first translation that came out was atrocious. It was really, really bad. And so I was like, you know what? There's a lot on my plate on Saturday. I'd rather wait until I have some good translations for I can have a fun time with the first episode of Season 2, and that's why I did. I waited until new translations came out, which they came out while I was in the middle of the stream, when I was streaming with King Lightning and all them, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this once I'm done, and here I am. So, yeah, the translations are a lot better. The first translations were really bad, and so if you've only watched the first version of Taizai with the fan translations like the first one, I recommend you to rewatch it and watch it with better translations. Now, many of you are probably asking, so Chibi, I know you're talking about, translations and stuff, but who's currently, subbing this? Like, what site? Well, it's our dear friend Netflix, and we know how Netflix is. Netflix is a content provider that loves to grab series, anime, and they license them, obviously, but they typically like to release them in bulk and many months after the series is done. So at that point in time, many don't really care anymore. They're like, okay, let's just go on to the next anime. So yeah, if you're wanting to find this series, it's on Netflix, but it's not there right now because you know how Netflix is, and it's kind of upsetting about how they operate, but I'm not going to get into that because I've discussed that enough, and it was my same problem I had with the first season of Taizai and how Netflix picked up the series, and we had to go through fan subs and all that to be able to, watch it in the first place, which I'm thankful for people, fan translating this. I really am appreciative of that. It sucks that we have to do that because Netflix, they just don't understand that many anime watchers love to watch the series on a weekly basis. A new episode when it comes out in Japan, we like to watch that. That's the whole reason why Funimation and Crunchyroll is so successful. But anyways, let's talk about the first episode. So Season 2, Episode 1 is here. And I think if you've been around for a while, you know how I feel about Taizai, then most likely many of you know how I felt about the original first season of Taizai. I was hyped in the beginning, I really liked it, and then over time there was some problems that obviously started to pop up with Taizai. There was quite a few problems, and I discussed them quite a bit in the past when I was doing reviews of the anime, and I'm not going to really bring those back up because I've discussed them, and if you want to see my opinion on it, then you can go back and watch those videos. But overall, I didn't really like the first season of Taizai. Even though I'm a fan of the manga, I've even actually collected the volumes. I have them behind there, you probably can't see them, but I've collected the volumes. I love Taizai, and it's one of my favorite mangas to, actually read every single week and review. But even then, though, the anime had its problems, and I wasn't a big fan of it, and the ending of Season 1 was completely anime original. It was not a part of the manga, and because of the way that ending was, at first I was like, we're probably not going to get a Season 2, and if we do get a Season 2, it's not going to really make much sense for anime onlys because the way they ended it. There's just so many things. And then future events that they kind of cut out, like in, Season 1, there's things that happen later off in the manga, if we ever get to that content in the anime, like Season 2 or Season 3, many of you anime onlys might not understand. That was like my big complaints. And so, everybody by now, if you've been with me for a while now, you know how I felt about the anime. And I was really looking forward to this new season of Taizai. And the reason for that is because usually when it comes to the studio that makes Taizai what they're making right now, usually their Season 2s are a lot better. Usually. It's the same with how Magi was done. If you've ever watched Magi was very good the first season, but it went into some anime original content. And then when Season 2 came around, It was beautiful. It followed the manga. It was amazing. And so that's my same thought process here. Basically, A1, they didn't think that, the first season probably was going to be that good, so they ended it off on Anime Original, and then we got Season 2 announced, which then now they're going to be following the original source, and probably not going to be deviating at all. They might rearrange things, but overall, I don't think they're going to deviate. So that's what's kind of got me hyped for Season 2, and why I'm even here at this moment is because usually A1 learns their lesson, and when they make Season 2s, it's a lot better. So, there you go. There's a brief history on why I'm reviewing this, why I didn't like the first season, and also why I'm watching Season 2, and I'm very hyped up for it. So, let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend that I saw in that opening song. I think that's the opening song at the end of the episode, because if I'm correct, we didn't have an opening song. So, I believe that ending segment was the opening song, and I saw the man, the myth, the pride, the sin of pride in that opening. And I was like, am I going to actually get to see this man very soon? Because, just a little bit of a tidbit for you guys, if you're anime onlys and stuff, for Taizai, there's a character coming very soon that I'm looking forward to getting introduced, and we get to see a little glimpse of him in the opening song, and I was just getting very hyped up when I saw it, because he's quickly become one of my favorite characters of Taizai, and seeing him in the opening, I just couldn't help but just, say, yo, I just couldn't help do that. But, there's other things throughout, this episode that just made me extremely hyped up. But before I get into those, though, let's talk about something that I know many are going to be kind of confused about. So, many are going to be coming this episode. If you're anime only, you're going to be like, okay, Chibi, there's a lot of things here going on that just feel very weird to me. The pacing feels weird. What is going on? Like, I just do not understand. Well, like I said, Season 1 was anime original, like the ending of it. And so, the way Season 2 is starting off, it's kind of going under the impression that the end of Season 1 never happened. So, if you want to kind of get the full story and understanding to what really happened and what you kind of missed, it's best to go probably read the manga. I don't know if the OVA episodes, like the Signs of the Holy War or whatever, if that covers the content missed. I have no idea. I heard it was just, filler. But, if you want to actually get legitimate information and remember kind of what's going on right now for the beginning of Season 2, I recommend you to go to around, like, Chapter 90, 91, 92, all the way up to Chapter 100. I believe that is where the content is covered that, Season 1 kind of changed, where the end of Season 1 changed, and kind of the start of Season 2. So, that's what I recommend, honestly. It's between those chapters. I know it's in the 90s, and right at the start of Chapter 100 is to where this content is taking place, for Season 2 and, the end of Season 1. But, anyways, yeah, if you're confused, go out of your way and do that, and then you'll get up to speed. Like I said, I don't know if the OVA episodes on Netflix, there's 4 OVAs, if they necessarily clarify anything. I don't know. I'm just going on what I know right now when it comes to the manga and the anime. So besides that, let's talk about a big topic point of this first episode. And it was a big topic point of when the manga chapter revealed it. The power levels. There is a power level system in Taizai. It was revealed in this chapter, or this episode, forgive me. It's an old habit when it comes to, reviewing Taizai. But, it is revealed that there is a power system. You have spirit, strength, and magic. It is a big power system of Taizai, and I know many are going to probably be split on this, because when it comes to shonen manga, you should expect, especially battle shonen, you should expect power levels. You should expect something like that. It's something that's a big thing. I mean, when you think about any major, like, fighting shonen, this happens. Dragon Ball, perfect example. And so, I can see why many are a little bit upset about this being introduced, because number one, power levels can get a little bit weird, or just the power scaling, it gets atrocious later on in the series. And I can understand those worries when it comes to power levels, especially being introduced to this series when we're just now starting Season 2. Many are probably going to be a little bit upset with that, or find it a little bit funky or weird. But overall, I think the reason why Nakao-sensei wanted to introduce this element to the story in the first place was kind of to have a threat level set up. For instance, when a character is introduced, we understand how threatening this person is, or how powerful they are, to kind of give us a little bit of an understanding to where they stack up to the other characters. It's kind of like this, okay? Even though power scaling in Dragon Ball went completely off the rails, it just, yeah, let's just not get into that, big pit of, power scaling in Dragon Ball, but the power scaling Dragon Ball at first, when it was really first introduced, it was there to kind of to showcase their threat level and who you should mess with and not mess with. That's basically the point of that, especially in Dragon Ball, and it made everybody understand, like when we first were introduced to the Ginyu Force, or Vegeta, when we were introduced to Frieza, we're like, oh my god, the power scaling of that is just, it's insane. And that's basically what Nakaba Sensei is trying to do, because there's going to be a lot of characters introduced very soon, I'm just going to be honest here, that are going to be insanely powerful. And even if they showcase these feats that are crazy, I don't think many would possibly understand just how insane they are compared to, like, the ending of Season 1 with Hindi and all that. Many might not understand just how strong they are in comparison, and that's why I think Nakaba Sensei added this in the first place, for we can be kind of grounded and understand the threat level that is incoming to us. Now, in terms of my own personal experience when it comes to the power scaling in Taizai, since I am a manga reader, I am up to date, power scaling overall, I don't think it necessarily has a problem. It does stay pretty consistent. When you have this strong character, they're usually pretty strong. That's usually how it is. When Nakaba Sensei makes a character strong, they're strong. That's how it usually goes. And it has been relatively consistent with that, especially with the detail that was given in this episode and also in the manga chapter that, you know, before it was animated. It was stated that the power level that was shown in this episode, like Meliodas' that was like over 3,000, that can vary. It can get a lot stronger just depending on the conditions, you know, his state of mind or whatever. It can vary. His power level can vary and get a lot stronger. So in this case, even though we saw 3,000 on Meliodas, he might get much higher than that. So that's just all I want to say. Basically, there was a little bit of a detail thrown in there that this isn't their max. Those characters that are showcasing their power level, that isn't their max. It's just like their base form and basically being very calm and not in the proper conditions to get ready for a fight. That's what I'm getting at. So, making sure I give some clarification to that. So, before I go any further, just answer this question in the comments below. How do you feel about the power scaling, or how do you feel about power levels being introduced to Taizai? Please be honest in the comments below. I mainly want to hear how anime-onlys feel about it, because they're new to this, and I'm just very curious on how you feel about it. So, let's talk about the Balor eye for a second. So the evil eye, Balor's evil eye. That right there, I'm not going to go too far into that, but a long time ago I made a Fury video talking about it, and Balor, FYI, is an ancient mythological creature. That's all I'm going to say. And you can take that wherever you want. At the time of when I first saw it introduced, I remember talking about Balor in depth and maybe the possibility of him being in the series. Because the series of Taizai, it does take inspiration from certain mythologies. And it is a likely possibility that Balor could be a part of that. I just want to point that out and just showcase that many pay attention to that. The evil eye of Balor. So, moving on, I'm trying to think what else to talk about. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the beginning of the episode, the actual Bond stuff. So, Bond, it's been a while, Bond. It's been a while. That's all I'm gonna say. You manga readers, you know what I'm saying. Bond, it's been a while. I'm glad to see you, glad to see you on screen. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm glad to see you here, Bond. I'm glad to see you, you know, spending time with the 7 Deadly Sins. You know, you're like best boy right now. I'm glad. I'm glad, Bond. I'm glad to see you again. But, basically, Bond, he announces to Meliodas that he is leaving the 7 Deadly Sins. Now, I could be misremembering stuff, but it's been a while. It's been a while since I read this in the manga, so I might need to go back and read this myself to kind of get a better grasp of what's going on here. I know what's going on, but I forget the events, and I believe that this episode did have some events missing. Now, this could potentially be added in the next episode, but I believe there was events missing, which might be, like, because of where they're starting out with Season 2, which is what I talked about earlier in this video with how it's best to probably go back and read around, like, Chapter 90, something to, like, 100, because it seems like the way they're starting Season 2, they're, like, expecting you probably have to have read the manga. That's what it looks like to me. So, I could be wrong there, but I believe there is some events kind of missing. Certain details are kind of skipped, especially when it comes to Bond and him leaving, because I remember in the manga, there was a little bit more focus on that, and I believe there was. I could be wrong, but I believe there was more focus on that, and it felt very weird to me the way that was paced in the episode. I was like, it was only like 30 seconds. I'm like, what? Like, I felt like that was much more important when it came to the manga, so that threw me for a loop right there. Now, like I said, I could be wrong, and if you manga readers, you remember and all that, clarify, fact check for me in the comments below. So yeah, the Bond stuff. Bond left the Seven Deadly Sins. He's going on his own adventure. Apparently, he's going to the fairy forest, which, burnt down. That's going to be something interesting to see, and King is traveling with him. And we do know that King and Bond, they have this relationship thing going on, especially when it comes to Elaine and, King's sister. So, yeah, just want to point that out. Next thing to talk about, let's talk about the, how they retcon the end of Season 1. So, Elizabeth, our main female character, which was a very crucial part to the end of Season 1, or the end of this first major arc of Taizai, when she activated some power and stopped Hindi, and, he got kind of put down a little bit. Elizabeth was the key factor in that fight, and it is showcased in this episode that Elizabeth had, like, a premonition. She was having, like, a dream, and everything that happened at the end of Season 1 and all of that, and I'm assuming some parts of the OVA as well, all of that was a dream. It didn't matter, it wasn't relevant, and here we are now with the story. So, I like how they handled it. It makes sense. It was the best way to retcon it, Elizabeth having a dream, so, yeah, I just wanted to point that one out. Anyways, next thing to talk about, I'm trying to think. We have the stuff with, well, let's see, I covered the power levels, I covered Bond, I covered the retcon, and covered the previous season and all of that. I'm trying to think here. I guess let's talk about, the 3 knights that popped up in this, episode, the, Azure Sky, or whatever. Those 3, introduced. I'm gonna say right now, they are relevant. They are relevant, actually. They're not just fodder characters for the sake of being fodder at the moment. They are relevant for the future. I will be honest there, so don't think that. Do take mention of them. But, basically, that entire scene with Meliodas and all that with those 3 holy knights, it was to showcase that many didn't like the fact that Meliodas, which was, like, considered a traitor, or all of the 7 deadly sins that were considered a traitor on the run for so many years, just came out of nowhere, defeated Hindi, and all of that, and everything was good and dandy. Not many really liked that at all. And so that was basically the voices of the people striking at Meliodas, and Meliodas basically shutting them up, where they could realize that if they really were strong, then they would have done something to stop it, but they couldn't, and only the 7 deadly sins were really only there to be able to stop them. They were the only ones that could stop them at that time. So there you go. Now, let's talk about the Dreyfus stuff. So we do get to see a glimpse of Dreyfus, dying in Season 1. Like, we get to see him disintegrate and all that. And I don't know if if Season 1 clarified that. Did it clarify how Dreyfus is alive? I don't know. I don't think it did. So, it didn't clarify, I don't think. Like I said, this is where my memory of this event is getting a little bit foggy. I don't know if it's going to be explained in the upcoming episode, or if they're, like I said, they're expecting you to have read the manga and continued on with after Season 1. I don't know. I forget, but I know how. I know how. I don't want to talk about it unless it's not going to be shown. But I'll have to see till next episode before I actually talk about that. Oh yeah, we also get to see people coming out. We get to see 10 people or whatever coming out of this, like, sill or whatever at the end of the episode, which is pretty hype-inducing. I'm looking forward to some of those characters. All the characters that came out and all that. Oh, there's a couple. Quite a few I'm looking forward to, especially their upcoming fights with some characters. I think you know which ones I'm talking about when it comes to that, manga readers. You know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, Season 2 overall, it is looking pretty entertaining. It does have some problems, but it's not necessarily bad, so to say. I mean, it's probably just pacing issues because of how Season 1 ended, and that is why it's appearing to look like that, but it's still a good first episode. I think it's a pretty fun first episode. It's a great start to Taizai, and I'm glad to have it back, because this could up the popularity of Taizai once again, and that's what I want. I want to see that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this week's chapter of Taizai, or this episode? Man, that is a bad habit. Forgive me. How do you feel about this episode of Taizai? Did you like it? Did you hate it? And, if you like my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.